Welcome to this week's Today's Health and Wellness podcast. This is Ashley.
And I'm Brett. The Today's Health and Wellness podcast is a joint effort of the Central Ohio Health and Wellness magazine and Today's Health.
In each week's podcast, we spotlight health and wellness stories you'll find in the magazine, on Today's Health web pages, on our social media, as well as extras you'll hear in the weekly podcasts.
Thanks for subscribing and hitting the play button. Let's get started right after this. Hey, Ashley, we talk about the Central Ohio Health and Wellness magazine every week in our podcast, specifically all the locations around Central Ohio that the magazine is available for pickup. But there's another way to read the magazine, right?
That's right. Our magazine is available 24/7 on our website, ohiohealthandwellness.com. On the website, you can read the latest issue, as well as go back in time to previous issues.
And what I like as well is your search button on the homepage.
That was an important part of building the website for our readers. You can type in any health topic in the search button, and all of the articles we have written and printed come up within seconds for you to read. The link to the website is in the podcast show notes. And connect with us on Facebook while you're online as well. This is Ashley.
And this is Brett.
In this episode of Today's Health and Wellness, we find out why it's so easy to rack up credit card debt.
We've heard from so many of you, our Today's Health and Wellness podcast listeners, that you're having a difficult time leaving a rating and review for the podcast in iTunes. So here's an easy way to do it. Go to www.pleasereviewmypodcast.com/today's health for an easy step-by-step tutorial to follow. That's pleasereviewmypodcast.com/today's health. Now, reviewing and rating our podcast in iTunes helps us in so many ways, but most importantly, we get your feedback on what you like about the podcast. Thanks for being a listener and a subscriber, and going to pleasereviewmypodcast.com/today's health. With the holiday shopping season now complete, the credit card bills will be in the mail all too soon. We hope you didn't overspend, but it's so easy to do so. Dr. Scott Bea, a psychologist at Cleveland Clinic, explains why by nature our brains struggle to fully grasp the concept of credit.
We make these exchanges with credit cards now with, an illusion. It's not like we're giving anything away at all. Now, somewhere our brain knows we have to pay for it, but it gets harder to actually pay for something once we've consumed it.
Dr. B says that the reason why it's hard for many people to be responsible with credit card is sense processing. In other words, the ability of the human brain to make sense of things by using the five senses.
He says historically it was used in trades and barters where we had a real sense of what we were trading for, but today those lines can be more easily blurred.
Dr. B says the more we become removed from real symbols of money, the easier it is for us to part with something without a second thought. He says when we swipe a card or click a button on a mouse to make a purchase, our brain struggles to calculate the true cost because we're not physically handing something away.
And when the bill comes in the mail, we're so far removed from the actual activity that it doesn't register in our brains. Dr. B says if we can be more conscious of what's really going on, that there really is an exchange going on, the better off we're going to be.
It would be a good idea to have a habit like anytime we pay for something to take a moment right then and there and note that in some ledger or do something physical about it, even any kind of physical act that would stimulate our sense.
Dr. B recommends keeping a record of every expense. He admits it's not easy to do because it involves creating a new habit, which can take up to 63 days for it to stick. But he says once the habit is created, it can help us make better judgments about how we use credit. Thanks again for listening to this week's Today's Health and Wellness podcast, brought to you by Central Ohio Health and Wellness magazine and Today's Health. If you have a health and wellness segment you would like us to cover, send us an email. Our contact information is in the show notes.
And if you'd like more information about sponsoring our podcast, like Ashley just mentioned, our contact information is in the podcast notes. We look forward to hearing from you.
Circle270media.com.
Thanks for saving money with us. If you have money-saving tips you want to share, we would love to hear from you. We'll talk about them in a future podcast. Just head to our Facebook page at facebook.com/DollarSavingDivasCBus.
Leslie, that's kind of long. We do have a link to our page in the podcast notes. When you subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast player, these podcasts can automatically upload to your smartphone. Now get out there and start saving money. We want to hear from you.